Hey, one of the nail-biting parts of a home sale is the appraisal. Unless the sale is a cash deal that doesn't require an appraisal, the sale is going to be dependent on the appraisal. So I'm going to talk about that, and I'll talk about what an appraisal is, the options to address a low appraisal, and some tips on how to avoid a low appraisal. So stay tuned. Hi, I'm Jana Classy. I'm a realtor along with my husband Paul. We are with Snyder Bailey and Associates here in the eastern panhandle of West Virginia. So the first thing to keep in mind is that the appraiser works the bank. He doesn't work for the seller or the buyer, even though the bank will usually require that the buyer pay for the appraisal. The value that the appraiser places on the home is what the bank considers it's worth, and not a penny more. There are several reasons an appraisal will come in low. One is that the property is overpriced, and this could be due to price bumping in a multiple offer situation, or it could be that it was just overpriced from the get-go. Another reason could be that the appraiser missed some things, like not taking into account pending sales or mistakes he's made on your home's features, or maybe not taking into account a rising market. So if the appraisal comes in low, what do we do? First of all, it doesn't necessarily mean the deal won't work. And here's some options. Option one, dispute the appraisal. Your realtor will provide you a copy of the appraisal if it is low, and also can contact the lender to ask about their dispute practices, and that will involve providing a list of sold and pending properties near your home that support the agreed sales price. And then this is presented to the appraiser in a request for him to adjust the appraisal. And if this doesn't work, then we'll move on to a few other options. Here's option two. If the lender allows, buyer makes up the difference in cash. Generally, the lender goes by the loan to value ratio agreed to in the contract and how the appraisal affects that. So for an example, just a simple one for demonstration purposes, say the sales price, agreed sales price is $100,000 and the loan to value ratio is 20%, which would be a $20,000 down payment. Then the appraisal comes in at $75,000, so the 20% is lowered to $15,000, and that remaining $5,000 could be paid to the seller to make up part of the difference. Or buyer could switch the loan to a 10% down payment, which would free up more cash that could be used to make up the difference. But if he did that, it would require a monthly PMI insurance payment for the buyer. If the lender doesn't allow the buyer to contribute cash, then perhaps the buyer could pay some of the seller's closing costs. And again, different lenders have different guidelines, so these strategies would need to be approved by your lender. And really, generally buyers don't want to make up all the difference in cash unless there is some compelling reason for wanting the property, and that would outweigh price, like living next to a relative, something like that. Okay, option three. The seller can lower the price. If the home was overpriced, this may be the best solution. Or maybe negotiate a middle ground where seller and buyer split the difference. There's no guarantee that if the buyer walks away, the seller won't receive a low appraisal from the second buyer's lender. And, you know, not to mention the time and trouble and expense it takes to sell the property. And sometimes a bird in the hand is really best. Option 4, the seller could offer to carry a second mortgage for the difference. If the buyer really wants the home but cannot come up with the difference in cash, then maybe making payments to the seller or a lump sum payment at a later date could be an option. And then, of course, if none of these options can be worked out, then the contract will be void and the home will go back on the market. So we want the appraisal to work. And here's some tips for the seller. Consider your home's appearance. The appraiser takes into consideration the condition of the home, and how the home shows affects his opinion. So the condition of the home affects the appraiser just like it does the buyer. So a freshly painted home, clean, uncluttered, plus a well cared for lawn around the home, give the impression of a well-maintained home. So getting your home ready for buyers also helps with the appraisal. Next is to make sure you know what similar homes to yours sell for. And this involves some research before placing a listing price on your home. And we help with that. We'll look into the tax assessments, online assessments, but really the main element in this is a thorough comparable market analysis. And that's where we take recently sold, pending, and active properties similar to your home and then make adjustments for the differences so that a value range can be determined. And really this is similar to what an appraiser does, but the appraisal is done by a licensed appraiser and it's more detailed. And the appraiser arrives at a specific value. So there it is. Hope this sheds some light on the whole appraisal process. And if you have some questions about it, give me a call. I'd love to talk to you. Okay, have a wonderful day.